And okay, now we're on to the next question. Now, what is a good performance? And can it can we actually have a decent performance? Because I think there's a lot of people, they definitely do funny stuff, but you wouldn't necessarily say it was a good performance.
Okay, good performance. Simple. Does it entertain the audience?
This is where
That's it.
I might have to disagree because again, there's a lot of a lot of people. Yeah, they do funny stuff. They break out into dance again, not to not to fire shots at anyone. But could anybody do a profound performance? Because I'm just thinking off the top of my head, the only real performance I could remember that was a really really good one was, let's say, Andy Valentine's Vash from Far Cry 3, where I really was convinced he was a psychopath, whereas a lot of people, they just they want to make people laugh and stuff like that. So do you think I mean, but then again, there's definitely a lot of limitations to cosplay, so that you've only got 2 minutes. You can't really, I don't know, make somebody cry or move them in 2 minutes, I guess. So I guess
Oh, you wait. I've got another act I've written. We haven't recorded it yet. But, possibly for next year's CC4 series. That one is going to start with laughs and end in tears, I think. Certainly when we've read it. But it can be done. God, keep blowing my own trumpet here. But it can be done. It's much easier to get laughs. I'm going to say this now,
it definitely is. I've definitely just noticed that a lot of performances are more, let's get a laugh out of the audience rather than a good performance. And funny enough, that'll be the next question. So, Kim, what do you think? What do you think about that? Can we actually get really good performances?
To be fair, I think it's definitely possible. But I mean, for me, I think it's more of that dividing line of performance where it's hilariously funny just because they're being silly or doing something that's still in character, but just kind of is just so silly that you can't not laugh. And then you've got the other side of it where people are actually proper seriously acting as that character. They really get into the role, and they just, it's amazing when you see people that do it. Like, they get so into the role, they really, like, they become that character so much that you can feel their passion for that character. And it's amazing to see people that are like that, because it's just it's just beautiful to see, because you can see almost like their wings expanding. They're literally exploring into this big new world of becoming someone else, and it's brilliant to see how much they can take it, how far they can push themselves to go. So, but yeah, I think it's definitely possible. I mean, I've seen my fair share of people doing acts, and they've done doing performances, and they've done really really well from what I've watched. I've seen some that are really not being nasty, but they don't do justice, and they're just kind of gone on stage, do a little dance, and off they go. And it's well, you could have planned it out a little bit more, maybe done something more in character, but on overall, okay, might be first time, so you might not have much confidence, so you can't really, you can't judge them just on that. But then there's the other side of it, of people who have really gone all out. They've planned it for months on end. They've got scripted it and everything, and they know exactly what they're going to do. They come on stage, they hit it, they hit the mark exactly, and it's just such a pleasure to see people doing that. I mean, I remember I think it was the first time I actually saw the cosplay event at Insomnia, and I think it was Cilantri, I believe I was watching, and she did her cosplay as I can't remember now what it's called. It's like a Final Fantasy character, but I remember seeing it and thinking, that's actually amazing. It was just spot on. She pulled all the stops out. She was brilliant, just perfect, and it kind of was what inspired me to begin with, to get into cosplay. It was amazing. So definitely, there's people out there that are capable of doing it. So
yeah, and it's oh no, go on, Dave.
I think I remember that one, actually. That was a very, very good costume, if it's the one I'm thinking of.
She's amazing. She is amazing at what she does. And like I said, she obviously had planned so far out that she just hit every mark. She'd obviously scripted it out perfectly, knew what she was going to do, and she pulled it off really well. I was really just gobsmacked at how good she was at what she was doing. So
there's more to this than just I'm saying it's about being the character. I don't know. It's a kind of tough one. That I see where you're coming from there, but being the character, if the character's not, God, I'm not really explaining myself well. Perhaps you can cut this out, Danny. Maybe I can be coherent at some point in the distant future. Yeah. But okay, let me start this again. I think the others, though, speaking of somebody who's been in quite a few contests and also judged a few contests in my time, people who actually do something new and original with a character, I think that is really, really brilliant. And it doesn't always quite work, but when it does, it's really, really special. And the fact they've gone to make the effort to try and do something new and original, but still in keeping with the character, it's really cool. Because we've all seen acts where they're just sort of miming to a little bit from, I say, whatever the source material is or whatever film it is. And it's like, yeah, that's nice. You know, you've done a few facial expressions there. You've got the characters. But fundamentally, you're doing something which somebody's already done. And sure, yeah, if that's what you want to do, go for it. But I'd be more impressed with you if I was a judge, if you're doing something original, which also really works.
Oh, so because you've been in that position, so with the person that only just was essentially miming a pre-recorded, you would get less marks than, let's say, a person that actually recorded his own voice being that character.
Yeah, basically. I mean, it depends entirely what that person is doing, but if he's doing original stuff, which is that character, you go, you know what, good move, mate. And it doesn't always work. I've seen ones which are really good ideas on paper. In fact, I've done ones which are really good ideas on paper, which just didn't work. But you go on stage, you find out, and it's just, yeah, fair enough. I mean, one of the things I did, actually in an absolute desperate rush at DragCon, was I had to produce an act out of nothing in, like, you know, a few hours. So I got myself doing the Penguin doing Shakespeare, doing the plain dealing villain from Much Ado. And
What?
no, it just didn't work. It was a nice idea. It was worth trying on stage. I did get a bit of applause, but you know what? I'm going to stick to falling over. I'm much better at that.
To be fair, it's sometimes the most simple of performances that tend to they do win. I mean, the last going back to my clicker cosplay I did, obviously I planned that out. I did the whole tackle thing, but I didn't get anywhere. I didn't get any prize, prize positions or anything. And the one that did get the main prize position was dressed up as a Pokemon, came on stage, gave a little wave, and wandered off. That was just a kick in the teeth, really. I just thought, obviously the act hasn't worked. I'm just gonna have to hone my skills, kind of come back to it, and just figure out a different way to do it. But
and sometimes, yeah, sometimes the judges just really don't get what you do. But yeah, again, you're right. It is a learning curve. Sometimes you actually think it's gone well, and the judges didn't like it at all as well. Euro cosplay last year, for example. You remember that, Danny? Yeah, I did the election. I did the election speech.
Yeah.
I did the Penguins election speech, and one of the things I do in that is I have a joke about how I'll only be 50% as evil as the Tories. And this was in Manchester, so that got a huge round of applause, lots and lots of laughter. And I don't know if it's true, but I was told afterwards that one of the judges, she's the daughter of a senior Tory council leader or something like that.
Oh, jeez.
You kind of...
yeah.
Yes.
Something you think,
Honest truth, I don't think it made any difference to the final result.
Well, no, but I would hope not. But, yeah.
Yeah, just occasionally, and again, I don't know if it's true or not, it's just something somebody told me, is, you know, sometimes the audience might really like what you do, but for some reason, that's not the judge's cup of tea at all.
Yeah, I mean, I think that kind of touches on a few things there as well, because to an extent, cosplay is subjective. It is subjective. You know, how can you... I think Ben covered this as well. You know, you can't compare, you know, this amazingly made set of armor to this amazing, you know, hand-sewn cosplay. And it's the same with performance. Like, performance, once again, is such a subjective art form in and of itself. It's very difficult to compare the two. I mean, I think the best kind of thing that you can do with it, and to kind of revisit what Danny was saying in the beginning about, you know, what can you do with 2 minutes? 2 minutes doesn't seem like a lot of time at all. It's like, when you're sort of studying drama, you get allocated 5 minutes. That's it. You get allocated 5 minutes, and in those 5 minutes, that decides whether you pass or fail drama, and that's per person. It's very daunting, but at the same time, you realize that 5 minutes is actually a lot of time, especially when you're, to the most part, dealing with characters and stories that have already been created by somebody. You don't have to sit there and worry about, you know, telling everything at the very beginning, because the character that you are playing has already been crafted for you. It's unlike maybe when you're obviously this doesn't potentially apply to things like Shakespeare because you've got your own creative interpretation, but when you're presenting a new play, you have to start from scratch, and you have to tell the story of that character, and you have to evolve that character, and you have to, you know, watch that character grow. With cosplay, you're taking a character that has evolved already in comics or film or books or telly, and you can put your own spin on it. You can take all of the attributes of the character and throw it in a different situation and scenario and see how that pans out. But you don't have to work quite as hard as you would do, so that you can. It kind of goes to show that 2 minutes sounds like not a lot of time, but actually it's a lot of time. And gestures can be so powerful when the audience as well, and the judges are already aware of the story that you're sort of telling, because they're aware of the characters that you have. I mean, there's a performance at LSCC a couple of years ago with Elsa, and she takes her dress off, the first dress, and all of a sudden the gorgeous, you know, blue dress of Queen Elsa comes out, and that takes, in terms of time, about 5 seconds. It was about a 5-second costume change on stage, but the audience were absolutely mesmerized, and they gasped. They're like, oh my gosh, you know, because it's such a bold, iconic moment in the story, and that's what you're sharing on stage. So it's, and you can call them kind of beats, like story beats. It's a very prominent, iconic moment that you can use immediately to connect the audience with that character. And because the audience already knows that character, that's what you're looking for. Which is why when I tell people, when you go on stage, if you're going to make the audience cry, make them bloody cry. If you're going to make them angry, make them angry. And do it, you know, and don't be afraid that you can't do it in such a small amount of time. Because you can, because the people are already aware of the story that you're telling.
Making people angry. Would that mean, I don't know, you cosplay as, I don't know, David Cameron?
maybe if you're Dave. And you...
I do have some standards, you know.
Dave could certainly do. Like, I love Dave's kind of performative work that he does. I think he's incredible. I love when he stays in character all the time. Another guy I'm a really big fan of as well is the Daywalker. The Daywalker cosplay is amazing.
Yes,
Sticks in character all the time. So yeah.
But going back to what you were saying about LSCC, that was it was either it was a pair of French cosplayers who were Angela and Nikita cosplay.
Yes, thank you.
And they are some of the best in the world. You know, but basically that was my first big competition I ever entered, and not just them, but the whole bunch of people come from Europe to do it, and it's like, okay, I've just seen just how far behind I am in this. I really want to get to that level, which, you know, but just the whole way they approached it, the costumes were so amazing, the way they're just, and they're lovely people as well.
Okay.
But the other thing is because they won it last year, they were the judges for this year for LSCC. And me and Jake were actually a bit worried because they'd done the Frozen thing and they'd done it so brilliantly. And then me and Jake came along with this act where we're basically taking the piss out of Frozen. But no, they were absolutely lovely about it. They were saying how much they enjoyed the act, how well they thought it worked, you know. And let's face it, we got in the top 10 in that particular contest, which on a straight costume terms, I don't think we were even close personally, you know. But it was 50% act, and all the judges really liked the act.
So you can definitely say you're a living embodiment of how, just on performance alone, it makes a massive difference.
Well, I have no idea. We weren't expecting to go through, but we had this idea for an act. We put a lot of effort into it. We wanted to perform it on stage. And in fact, we're going to be performing like 3 or 4 times now on stage, but only once in competition. And we knew we'd get a stage good enough to do it at LSCC. And we went for it. And despite our set falling down, which should be something else we can talk about in a bit, in the second version of the act, because we'd broken it on the first version, despite that, we still got, these amazingly positive responses from the judges. Also, being up against so many other really, really strong performances from so many other people. I mean, you mentioned Andy Valentine earlier. His 2 acts as Prince Oberon, just stunning. Just great work.
Okay, and